You're listening to episode 620 of the Father Bills Podcast. Welcome back. This week's episode is entitled, Will We Let God In? Given on the 28th Sunday in Ordinary Time, 2017. As a priest, I've had the privilege to enter into the lives of many people. I've been with many in their tragedies and in their triumphs. I've walked with many in their dark times and when they have seen the light. I've been with them in their pain and their sorrow. I've celebrated in their moments of joy, forgiveness, and redemption. The most amazing and awe-inspiring thing has been when people have been given the strength to triumph over their difficulties. How have they done it, you might ask? What drove them to see and move beyond the dark times of their life into the light? Well, today's scriptures help us understand. In the first reading from Isaiah, we hear that the Lord is inviting us to a banquet of heaven, imaged by rich food, pure, choice wines. We are told that God will wipe away the tears from every face and destroy the veil that veils us all. These images of heaven are powerful, and they, I hope, give us hope. These words are deeply comforting for those who have lost loved ones so dear to them. These are encouraging words for those who struggle with sickness or troubled relationships. Our responsorial psalm, Psalm 23, reminds us that the Lord is our shepherd, and that even though we walk through the dark valleys of our life, our Lord remains by our side. Think about it. When our life is in the pit of despair, when destruction seems all around us, we have someone who is there to shore us up, to journey with us, to accompany us, and to remind us of God's powerful love. This, my friends, is divine medicine. This is one of our Lord's most powerful responses to the problem of evil. He won't be conquered by evil. And we can enter into his triumph if we open ourselves to his grace. St. Paul, in our second reading, reminds us that we can have confidence in the fact that God will supply what we need. My question is, will we allow it? Will we allow God into the dark times of our life? The parable offered by Jesus in the gospel illustrates that he is well aware that not all will come to the banquet despite being invited. Not all will be comforted in the struggles of life because they won't allow our Lord in. The man who was invited into the banquet, we hear, was eventually thrown out, but not because God was overcritically at his attire, but because the attire was offered to him and he rejected it. You see, in the culture of the day, if someone didn't have the right party jacket, so to speak, when he came to the banquet, a jacket would be given him. So that somehow, that's why he was left with silence. He had every opportunity and did not take it. So Jesus' listeners would have known this. We don't, because we didn't live in that time. The banquet of the Lord is being offered to each one of us. God did not come to condemn us, but to bring us to heaven, to the eternal wedding banquet, where Christ, the groom, is an intimate relationship with his bride, the church. Yet I've seen far too many people, when hard times come, isolate themselves. Stop going to church or mass. Refuse to seek out any help. Stop praying. And instead create a wall, not letting anyone in, including God. They ignore Christ's invitation to come to the feast. This is the feast here, heaven on earth, and we are invited to this feast. Many are called. Not everybody responds. This, my friends, is a tragic mistake. Satan wants this. Evil ensnares us and wants us to be eternally captive to sadness, hate, anger, and despair. But if we turn our lives over to Jesus, if we make ourselves vulnerable to our Lord, if we dare to allow him in, the healing can begin, even though it seems impossible. This is where I've been inspired by so many of you who have not let the darkness overcome you. I have been humbled by your continual decision to let our shepherd lead you and me, but you particularly, even though you walk in a dark valley. It seems like it's our fallen nature to want to isolate ourselves. Do not do it. I have gained strength by God when I see you praising him in the storms of your life. It seems ridiculous, but this is the point. It shakes us, and we start thinking, who is this Lord of glory? Who is this God who wants to walk with the poor and to shepherd the lost? And it might then strike me, too, that in some way I'm poor, and in some way I'm also lost. I need Jesus. See, it all begins with God's invitation, and then our response to that loving mercy. So if you are hurting today, if you are struggling with no idea how to make it through today, if you are facing a darkness out of which you see no way, if you feel shackled to the slavery of a secret sin, then the church is here to remind you that there is still hope. Our Lord can supply you with all you need. God can wipe away all your tears. Jesus can give you strength and courage to overcome any fear. You are not beyond being loved. Heaven is still open to you. Jesus has still prepared a banquet for you, and you are invited. Will you receive the invitation? Will you allow it? Will you submit yourselves and let him in? The choice is up to each one of us. May the Eucharist, Christ's very self, bring you and bring me to the grace to say yes, to begin that journey again to heaven, so that we may live in the house of the Lord all the days of our life.
Thank you again for listening to this episode of the Father Bill's podcast. As you might be able to tell from my voice, I got a cold, and it started happening during last week, so now I'm just kind of taking care of myself. But I want to thank you for listening to this episode, and if you have any questions, just go ahead and contact me on my website, fatherbill.org, FRBILL.org, and there you can send me a direct email, or you can see my social media sites and connect there. And until next time, may God bless you, and have a great week. Bye-bye.